to go. All right, we're live. Well, welcome everyone. We are here this evening for middle school update from SHP. We have Charlie Janigan here with us this evening. He's going to give us the update. I'm just going to turn it right over to Charlie. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Mike. All right, so today we're going to be looking at a lot of exciting information on the Milford Middle School. I'll go over some of the high-level things, the process, schedule. We've got some floor plan diagrams to share, and also what is the building going to look like. We've really yet to put that out in the public, and so I'm excited to share that today. So high level, the project is organized kind of in a triangle where we have co-owners at the top. It's Milford Exempted Village Schools, and then OFCC, the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission. They are funding the project. That group formulates the core team, and so we also then have SHP on the design side. We have all the design scope, engineering scope, and then finally Conger Construction has been hired on board for pre-construction consulting, and then also once we get to a point of having a contract, they would then take on the construction. Our process has a lot of dialogue with a lot of different stakeholders. You can see at the top the Milford Exempted Village School District Board and OFCC. The co-owners are at the top. Core team meets monthly. That's the district administrators really focusing on scope, schedule, and budget, making sure that those are on track. And then finally, there's a building design team which looks a lot of the integral pieces of the school and operations. We're at the point right now, though, where we're going to be getting a lot of feedback in the coming months from various groups, working with teachers, working with custodians, working with food service to make sure that a lot of the things that we're discussing are identified in the floor plan and in the design. Here's the schedule. We started in April and we programmed for 6 weeks. We've been in schematic design since mid-May, and actually tomorrow we hit print on schematic design, so that's a big step in the project. We will have drawings go to Conger and also SHP, and we will put estimates on those, the design as it is to date. It's about a 4-week period, and then from there we will enter design development, which is the second, third. That'll go into the end of January, and then we will enter construction documents, which is kind of the final third. That'll take us into the spring, and then permitting and bidding, and allows us to start construction spring of '23. Construction will be about 27 months from May of '23 all the way to August '25. It will be complete. So after that, we will then kind of finish junior high abatement and demo, final site work, and get things all closed out into August of 2026, which is funny to say. So the floor plan started with some early diagramming. We knew that with the site we have, that we had to have a compact plan, and we started to diagram some pod concepts of 4 classrooms, which were surrounding it by an ELA. ELA stands for Extended Learning Area. And then we were just copying those and mirroring those to try to create a module. Within that module, there's some project labs, restrooms, special ed rooms, mechanical. That's the most efficient way to build things and stack it. So we ultimately landed on a module like this, which has 4 classrooms, a science lab, and then there were project labs, these ELAs, and then they were surrounded by a courtyard. The courtyard did a couple of things. One is it allowed daylight to come into these interior spaces, but 2, it allows for some very controlled exterior play where these kids can go out and be in a contained area within the site and have fresh air. We have continued to push this and develop it and look at numbers and look at names, and ultimately this is where we landed. It's a 3-story concept. First floor is 8th grade, second floor is 7th grade, and the third floor is 6th grade. We did visit another 6, 7, 8 building that has this configuration, and they had 8th grade on the top, and 6 on the bottom. And then after the first year, they switched it because they realized that 6th graders can kind of live in their own little world, and that 8th graders traveled a little more throughout the building. And so we're following their lead and keeping 8th on the ground floor. You can see in purple, there is a dedicated art room per floor. There is also resource rooms for special ed. There's 1 resource room per 2 teams on each floor, so there's 6 total. And then there's 1 kind of central mechanical room that distributes heating and cooling throughout. This then ties to a shared space. So beyond the 3-story academic wing is kind of a shared commons wing. Within that is your main front door. It's flanked right by administration. Right off of that is student dining, kitchen, and kind of back of house services. We've got a special ed area here for MD units and some other components within that zone. And then there's a music area. And then lastly is the academy, has their own kind of area where they'll live right here. After that is the gymnasiums. So there's 2 gymnasiums, locker rooms, locker rooms, and then coaches' offices. No weight room, excuse me. And then there are storage rooms that are adjacent to both gyms. And then above this commons area is a 2-story volume, and then we're infilling that with other elective type spaces. So we've got foreign language, some STEAM spaces that would be kind of central to all students who are coming from the academic wing. This is looking a little bit closer. We've worked through a lot of the intricacies as far as names and making sure that staff it's all been assigned. The student dining can seat up to 500 students, and then there's actually learning stairs off of these that lead up to the 2nd floor. So the green triangles are media center spaces, and we are still at the point of figuring out how those will actually function and how books will be distributed and all of them. There is a balcony around this, so this is a 2-story area. The dining area is a very open concept. And it'll feel very large, and it'll be a very important, it's become the heart of schools, and a flurry of activity can occur there throughout the day. The site plan, these are the similar site plans that we've presented. We have another one that's complete, but it's not ready for prime time as far as presentation graphics. But we're still at the same point where we have your existing components of the existing junior high off of Wolf Pen. You've got the existing high school. We've got the entries off of 131 and Wolf Pen. And then the red rectangle represents the most buildable area for this new school. And so we have landed there. And so it's going to be a tricky construction because we're going to still have an operating junior high here, an operating 9 through 12 here. And then we're going to be constructing a 6 through 8 at the same time. There's a lot of storage, a lot of logistics, a lot of deliveries, combined with all the parents and buses and everything else that needs to happen. So it's going to be we're looking closely already at the site logistics, and in future meetings, Conger Construction will be here to present their plan. I know they want to have a dedicated curb where they can kind of enter and exit without impeding on the academic logistics associated with the site. Here is kind of the concept where we've landed, where Eagles Way will be somewhat a more prominent drive through the campus. It allows buses to kind of peel off and go behind the high school and have their own zone where buses can drop high school kids off or middle school kids or do pickup in a consolidated fashion because there's one run. We will have a zone for middle school pickup and drop off, parking, and then we're also looking at peeling off a dedicated new zone for high school parking and drop off. So all aspects of the site are being looked at, and the site design itself is proving to be one of the more challenging things to figure out. I presented to some staff earlier today, and they said, what's that blue stuff up there? And that's just a noting that we do need to have detention. If you pull into any new development, office building, or neighborhood, you see ponds when you pull in. That's retention. That there's water there all the time, and when it rains, it fills up, and then it goes down, but water's always there. For school, it's called detention, so we will detain it for a certain period, but after 24 hours, it should go down. in the event of a big storm. So think of it like a bathtub, it'll fill up, and then once it contains the water, within 24 hours, it'll drain down. So we're looking at all things with a lens of what's the best first cost or most cost-effective solution. And surface detention is your best first cost. There is buried detention, but it's triple the cost, and we know that's a budget buster if we go down that path. The other thing to point out is the fields that we are taking over of building this new school. We would reconstruct 3 new fields. So soccer, football, lacrosse, whoever practices on the current practice fields will have a location after the existing junior high comes down. So what does the new building look like? This is the exciting part for us to reveal kind of the architecture and what are we going to see. This is an aerial here showing the existing high school. Here's the junior high. And so we're kind of just looking at the positioning of the building. This is a concept showing massing. This is kind of where it was. You can see the academic wing is here, kind of that central core is in the center, and then you've got the gymnasiums over here. In future slides, or previous slides, it was flipped, and you'll see it flip here in a second, but this was the initial massing. So it's 3 stories here, it's 2 stories, it's 1 story. Again, we're laying this out in a cost-effective manner. We're not putting pitched roofs all over. We're not putting large overhangs all over. We need to look at this in a budget-minded manner. But we also need to make this be a school that looks good, where people pull in and say, hey, that's great. My kids are excited to learn there. And we don't want it to look like a big box grocery store. We've added some pushes and pulls to create some shadows, to create some verticality to it, to break it up a little bit. Here it is with kind of the latest massing where we flipped it. So you've got the gym here. It would be, Wolf Pen Pleasant would be out here. So we've got a large space here, and what are we going to do on that wall? We've got the main entry to say, hey, this is where you enter. We know that's a big issue on a lot of buildings, is where's the main entry? We want to make it be blatantly obvious where the front door is, and then you've got the academic wing there. So one of the things we did is look at some precedents and look at what's on campus. Milford High School, which is 10, 12 years old, has kind of an existing identity. That the banding that's around there, kind of the red brick up high, the buff brick down low. There's little pieces of red kind of identified that ties to the branding and logo of the Milford Eagles. And then also Cypelt, which is another recent building, has similar brick colors, some earthy tones, and again, some banding to kind of break things up and fit within the community. So we tied all that with the Eagle. You have this really strong brand here, which you see everywhere on clothing, on IDs, on podiums. And we wanted to see if there's a way we could capture that and use that as somewhat how in the architecture. So we took the Eagle and we started to look at the wingspan and just the arc that the wings formulate and as they represents the Milford Eagles. So we took that arc and we said, how could we apply that? Well, could we put it a wing above the school? And that's pretty challenging and lofty, and that's what we do though as architects' dream. And so we've conceptualized it to look like this. So this clearly points out, well, this is the front entry of the main core. You've got the gymnasium, which is a little more solid because we don't have windows all over, but we've put some more, the M and the Eagle within the facade there. We've also put some stripes of red just to tie into the high school. We would probably use glazed brick there, something that would last for a long time. There's glazed brick in the current junior high all over, and it's kind of a nod to the material there. And then we've kind of spread some diversity of materials throughout to break up the monotony of a really long building. So this is looking at a little closer. This is expensive, and you're going to see it change here real quick because that's a part of the design process. But we've shared this, and we've had a lot of wows, and a lot of people say, wow, that looks really cool. And it definitely gives this building a unique identity when you look at that. So here's looking at it at a different angle. But we are in a point where budgets matter, and this is an expensive solution. So we shrunk it a little bit. So here's a scheme that is taken in a little bit. We shrunk it in, made it a little bit smaller. Still does the same effect. The wing is subtle, and so you can see from the various angles. We shrunk it even more, and this is option C, and you can just see what it does to when you compare the previous schemes. And so that kind of cantilevers out. And then here's one without it. And really, this is where the state is pushing us. The state's mindset is go lean. But we know that you guys want a building that has identity and is a reflection of the community. So we've looked at all four. And ultimately, I know this is not the best image, but we've landed on kind of a hybrid between B and C. So we still have this somewhat wing above the school. We've incorporated it into the roof a little bit more. Before it was kind of open-aired. And then if you see this silver material here, that we would propose that be a reflective material, almost like glass. And so we will render this out. We will do nice images like this, but I just got this morning. And so we will ultimately give you guys an image and some, so you can see this as is. But this is very buildable. We think it can fit within our budget, and it still achieves some of the same language that we're trying to pull off from the initial concepts. We're excited about it. We hope you are too. And again, more to come. And this is a part of the design process. It's the back and forth. And again, it's trying to see what works, what's buildable, what's maintainable, and what would fit within the budget. So there is a building locally that we have done this reflective panel on it, and it's really neat. It looks like a mirror, and when the sky's blue, the panel is blue. When the sky's gray, it's gray. And so in this manner of having this kind of heavy red line above it, from down below on the ground, it would look like it's floating because it just is a reflection of the sky. So what's next to come? The biggest thing is a construction cost estimate. As I mentioned, we hit print tomorrow. It'll be, if I had to guess, 70, 80 pages of drawings to identify all the scope through all the meetings we've had. 2 independent estimates will be created, and we will try to reconcile and see where we land. Construction estimating is a tough task right now because the market is just out of control. Cost-wise, things are coming in higher and higher every day. We will have a lot more detailed meetings. There will be more detailed technology meetings to look at the technology scope, to look at Wi-Fi, to look at touchscreens and make sure that we're incorporating all the needs. We will have detailed security meetings. These meetings will have Miami Township police, fire, security professionals, door hardware. Our technology folks are a part of that with source access control and cameras. We will involve administration and many more meetings to come on that topic. We are entering the mode of doing department meetings, and so I mentioned how we're going to have detailed meetings with various groups: kitchen, PE, special ed, music, administration, custodians, all the grade level teachers. We will have discussions with to make sure their understanding of the scope and they're giving input to the needs that they have within the new design. And then also a lot more discussions on just mechanical, electrical, plumbing, making sure that we design something that's buildable and operable, and that you guys can open it and be comfortable and not have headaches to come. So one of the things that we do in our department meetings is we create staff surveys. This is just an example of one that we did. We actually started doing these during COVID. We were designing a $130 million program. COVID hit, everybody went home. Architects and interior designers went home. We couldn't meet. So we decided to do a Google survey, and it's proven to be one of those COVID silver linings where it's like we get great feedback. So we've continued to do it with schools, and we're going to incorporate it here. So it's a Google survey form. And then we will also then have some detailed discussions with staff where we will look at desk arrangements, desk styles, desk counts, storage, technology, all the kit parts within their classrooms and their various zones to make sure that everyone's understanding. We'll look at things in 2D, we'll look at things in 3D, making sure that everybody can understand what the scope of work is. So, again, schematic design tomorrow. It's been a great summer. We've had phenomenal feedback from the district. I applaud Misty and the whole gang for putting in extra hours over the summer. A lot of Zooms, but the process is driven by the feedback, and we've had great feedback to date. Conger and SHP will create independent estimates. There's a commissioning agent. It's a third party that reviews the design for buildability as far as operability of mechanical, electrical, plumbing. Those are often problematic when a building's open, and so a third party will look at it and make sure that everything's functioning, and also building envelope to make sure it's tight and it's waterproof. This has all come from historical problems of other schools opening up and leaking or having issues. Fortunately, SHP doesn't have many of those through our past. So with that, I know that was very quick. I would like to open the floor for any questions on anything that we can address today. So, right here, I got it right here.
I guess this is probably a Jeff question. Somewhere along one of the many conversations, that the part of the leaking on the roof of the junior high now is because it's flat and hard to
I can answer
maintain with the water not running off of it.
Yeah.
So by going with another flat roof, is that going to? It's not flat.
Yeah.
It's not?
Yeah, so prior to like let's just say 1980, architects or engineers could design buildings with flat roofs, 0-degree flatness. And they thought you could put a membrane on it and it would either evaporate or blow off the roof. Well, for years and years and years, they would leak. In 1980, they said you can't do that anymore in Ohio. They have to be, they're called low sloped. So the pitch of those roofs, the minimum pitch is 1/4 inch per foot. And we do this very frequently in school buildings just because it's the most cost effective. And I have, on a public microphone, stated, I will go to your roof and bring a tennis ball and I will film the ball rolling off the roof. So I actually have videos of that. I took an orange soccer ball because it was brighter. But they will drain. They appear to be flat, but they're low sloped. I can't get a building permit if it was flat. So, yeah. School leaky roofs have gone down if it's not from prior to the 80s. So.
That's a great question. Yeah.
Yeah, the staff asked the same question. Yeah.
Are there any other questions?
I just wanted to also share that I did this same session today with some 7th and 8th graders, and they asked about 100 questions, so they're way more curious than you guys. But they also just provided great feedback, and the questions were nice to hear because it was things they were concerned with. Will we have full-length mirrors in the bathrooms? A young man asked, will the urinals have partitions in between them? Because I know your current urinals, there's 5 or 6 and it's just wide open. So it's just things that they're concerned with. Elevators, stairwells, how they will move throughout the building. They asked questions about that. And then we
Always be different colors.
Yep.
The team still be the same name.
Yep.
And then the best was, are you on pace?
Yes, yeah, they said, are you on phase for schedule? That was great. And then I did the same session with the 7th and 8th grade staff also today from 2:30 to 3:30. And they had some great questions, roof leaking, staff restrooms. I guess there's one staff restroom in the whole junior high. And this new building will have many more than that. And so the building will be full ADA compliant. It'll have elevators. I think we've got 2 in the building. We'll have ADA toilet stalls with grab bars. It's proper width of toilets. So a lot of their questions were tied to being in a 1960s era building. And now I said, you're going to have a 2025 building. So that's the mindset that you guys need to have, is this is a brand new, fresh off the line, top-notch, top technology, sophisticated building. So, yeah.
One more.
Does this have some individual bathrooms built into
Yes.
it for the
Yes, so we will have group
White one,
bathrooms that
just
are listed as
completely
boys'
by
bathroom and
themselves.
girls' bathrooms, and then there's also unisex bathrooms, and they're individual stalls with a door that locks and a toilet and a sink. And then we also have another one with, there will be a family restroom also for a parent who's there with a kid and needs to have a changing table. And then there's also a special ed restroom that has another changing table that might be larger than, and maybe even electrically controlled. So the handicap accessibility is all throughout. And then the special ed rooms also have a shower adjacent to it for accidents that might happen, so.
Dave?
Thinking of security, obviously, we're gonna have doors that lock, things, the typical stuff that we have. What I'm thinking about are the windows on the ground floors. Are those going to be at head level, or is that going to be a raised area?
No, the windows are likely about 3 foot 4 inches is the sill height of what we typically do at ground level windows. OSFC requires that all classrooms have operable windows. They only open about 12 inches though. They don't open more than that because bodies can crawl in or crawl out, meaning kids. But then another very common thing that we do on ground level windows is put a protective coating on the windows after everything's built and installed. That it's not bullet resistance. Bullets can
That's
hit it.
similar to
Yeah.
similar to what I've seen before.
Yeah.
And the reason I ask that is I notice a marked difference in the window heights at Seipelt as I go by it.
Those were kindergarten classrooms, and we did have high windows there. And then I believe around the corner in those classrooms, they then have lower windows.
Okay, I just
Yeah.
was wondering if there was some way to
Yeah.
raise them up so you don't have line of sight.
Yeah, we're required to provide window area for 5% of a classroom. So it's something we can look at, and we can also try to address the security concern. So, yep. Yeah, I mean, we don't have, we have right now what we think is the fair market security. We're gonna have more meetings throughout with the administration and the design team to make sure we are addressing all the security and lockdown concerns. So that's very, very mission critical type meetings that start to happen very soon, now that we have the floor plan that we've landed on, so. You know, containment is a big deal. We'll look at various zones. Lockdown might be in multiple zones throughout the building, so. Other questions?
Negative. All right.
Okay.
We'd like to thank ICRC for recording this evening. Thanks for those that are watching. And thank you, Charlie, for being here. And we'll probably schedule something in the near future, probably 6 to 8 weeks out maybe,
Yeah,
or
6
maybe
to 8
further.
weeks would be great. I think we'll have budgets reconciled and hopefully more visualization, specifically kind of on the interior as we gain more feedback from the staff, so.
Very good. All right. Thanks for attending, everyone. Make it a great day.
There you go.